There are a lot of reasons you can criticize Adam Silver, but one thing we should universally agree on is the fact that the play-in tournament is awesome. And with the announcement of the new midseason tournament that everyone seems to hate already, I want to take a look back at the history of the play-in, go over why people like it so much, and what the midseason tournament needs to do to have the same level of success. All of this started back in 2019. Adam Silver was fresh off the heels of changing the All-Star Game format from East versus West to the format that we have today where captains choose their own teams. Since this was a clear upgrade, Silver was looking for ways to improve the marathon that was the NBA season and try and find new strategies to make it more entertaining. His two propositions were mid and end of season tournaments that would impact playoff seeding. But both of these ideas were very top of funnel, and it didn't seem like either of them would be happening anytime soon. However, when the 2020 season was halted indefinitely due to COVID, all precedents went out the window when the league returned to the bubble. When the season started back up again, most teams had only played around 60 to 63 games at that point. Since those on the outside of the playoffs looking in wouldn't have a chance to get to play the full 82 games, Silver proposed a version 1 of his play-in tournament to give each team a fair shot. The format was if there were less than 4 games separating the 8 and 9 seed after the seeding games, those two teams would face off and the 9 seed would knock the 8 seed out of the playoffs if they beat them 2 times in a row. Nobody expected the seeding games to be too exciting since most teams had their positions in the standings set in stone. But the race for the final playoff spot in the West was the talk of the league. While contenders like the Lakers, Clippers, and Rockets were coasting through games to try and remain as healthy as possible heading into the postseason, the Grizzlies, Trailblazers, and Suns fought like hell for a chance to sneak in. During these seeding games that nobody thought much of at first, we got a ton of amazing moments, and ultimately saw Portland snag the final playoff spot in the West. Even though the 9-seeded Wizards never got within 4 games of the Magic to force a play-in out East, the overwhelming success of it in the Western Conference bubble, as well as the fact that players were going to have to miss 2 weeks if they got COVID during the 2021 season, meant that the play-in tournament was coming back once again. But this time around, there was a new format that was much better than the original one. Instead of just 8 and 9 fighting it out, 7 plays 8, and the winner of that secures the 7th seed. And then 9 also plays 10 in an elimination game. The winner of that plays a loser of the 7-8 game for the final seed in the playoff bracket. People really hated this idea at first because, for one, they felt like it was unfair to the 7 seed for potentially missing out on the playoffs even though they might be way ahead of the 9 and 10 seeds in the standings. And on top of that, people didn't think there was much point in including the 9 and 10 seeds, since most years teams in that range hover around the mid-30 win mark. But most of, if not all of the criticism disappeared once we got to the end of the season. Out East, we saw Jason Tatum lead the shorthanded Celtics past the Wizards in the 7-8 matchup, dropping 50 points in the process. And in the West, Steph Curry and LeBron matched up once again in a classic that ended up with LeBron hitting a game-winning 3. And then after that, Memphis stole the 8 seed from the Warriors by going into Golden State and winning in an overtime thriller. The following year in 2022, we got another set of awesome, high-intensity games, which included one of the best memes of all time.
So you can tell everybody, yeah, you can tell everybody.
Throughout the first 3 years of the play-in tournament, every team that's advanced to the playoffs has wound up losing in the first round. But that doesn't matter. Generally speaking, the vast majority of teams in the 7 to 10 range are either massively underachieving or are a young team that's ahead of schedule. For the teams that ended up doing worse than expected, making the playoffs could be the difference in whether or not a roster gets blown up in the offseason. That added pressure creates an awesome dynamic where they're in do or die games that are against an evenly matched opponent. If they really think they're better than their record says, then they should have no problem beating a mid-tier team to get into the playoffs. And for the young teams, the plan gives them a huge opportunity to not only get into the playoffs, but to experience what it's like to be in an elimination type environment. When Anthony Edwards and Ja Morant made it out of the play-in the last couple of years, they didn't do much of anything against their respective opponents. But during the play-in, both of them had big moments that solidified them as stars on the rise. We wouldn't have gotten these moments without the play-in, and I'm really glad it was around for us to experience them. But fun moments aside, I don't think that's the biggest benefit of the play-in tournament. What makes the play-in tournament so special is that it gives players an added incentive to put forward their best effort, which leads to a more entertaining product for us fans. This is exactly what Adam Silver wanted. While the mini tournament is cool and all, it's the moments that lead up to it that really matter. At the end of the day, playoff basketball is right around the corner anyways. We aren't in dire need of competitive basketball in April, but now that we have the play-in, middle-tier teams in each conference are fighting to try and avoid a situation where a couple of fluke losses could end their season. And the teams in the 10 to 13 range are trying to claw their way into the tournament instead of tanking. So in a year like 2023, where seeds 6 through 11 in the West are so close in the standings all year, we get so many more meaningful basketball games throughout the season. And this is what the midseason tournament's gonna have to figure out if it wants to be successful. The official format hasn't been released yet, but according to Shams, the regular season games through November would be viewed as cup games, and the top 8 teams in the league at that point would be placed in a single elimination bracket where they'd play each other until a champion is crowned. It definitely sounds like an interesting idea, but how will the NBA get its top teams to care about this new cup? Most of the contenders are solely focused on winning the championship in June. I find it hard to believe that these top teams in the league are going to be going at a playoff level intensity for a new midseason accolade that may or may not hold any weight whatsoever. And I don't think teams hovering around the 8 to 10 range are going to be doing all that they can to try and qualify. So this cup could be known as the award for a team that just had a nice little win streak in December, or it could be a really big deal that ends up impacting a player's legacy, but that's yet to be determined. If Adam Silver can somehow make the top half of the league care about the midseason cup, then it has the potential to be a major success just like the play-in. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure if the projected format is going to have enough incentive for this to happen. And that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know if you like or dislike Adam Silver's ambitious ideas in the comments, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time.